Hey guys, Bolt here. So, originally I was going to make this a little bit of a concept of an idea of why the Mimic is such a big thing, but I think it's just like William Afton and Mimic are just, they're clashing ideas at this point. So, why is this a video I wanted to make? So, basically, it looks like, based on how we see the games created and all that, it looks like William Afton, the spiritual side of things, him being this big genius and mastermind, is kind of how we thought it would end with Security Breach, where he'd come back yet again, and that's kind of what we thought with Glitch Trap and Burn Trap. But then there's the Mimic, which sounds like it's overwriting. Like it looks like the creators of Security Breach, Ruin, and Scott with the books, it looks like they thought they'd seen that fans were done with the return of Afton, so they what is it called? They used some white out over William Afton and just put the Mimic, because all this purple, all this like, hey, this is the roots of Afton. This is how, his iconic looks and what he says, and even the phrase "I always come back" was like used. Now we're just saying the Mimic is getting dropped in there as this AI that, using the history of Fazbear Entertainment, is like, okay, so let's download the consciousness of the killer in Glitch Trap. Let's use the Mimic as kind of like this person who's actually like messing was like, it has a backstory of its own and it's messing with the nowadays events. So now you have this other Mimic that's replicating Afton, and there's another one that's got its own little personality and stuff. And it doesn't make sense because it looks like you backtracked. Like, it is very easy to see that you backtracked. Because it's like, old Help Wanted, it's like, oh, the remaining consciousness and spiritual energy of William Afton is now with Glitch Trap. Now we're going on to Princess Quest. It's corrupting this arcade game, and it's showing his, like, him slowly making his presence known, and then if this is supposed to be Vanessa or one of the spirits, it's slowly like locking them up and putting them away, which is what we see at the end of Help Wanted, where the identity of like Vanessa is put away while he takes over to make Vanny, but and then like the Burn Trap ending being like the fact that that was the original ending, because it looks like all the others are last minute add-ins. It looks like Burn Trap was the original ending, and like it looks like You Leaving was the comic book ending. They wanted to show that was the bad ending, but Burn Trap looks like it was supposed to be the original because it was the most animated one. And it shows kind of like, hey, we're building all this up, like these glam rock parts, this energy, all this power going towards powering the return of Afton. And then Freddy saying stop him, or just like all of the little things are coming together to say this is supposed to be Afton's story yet again. But then you're jabbing and just saying, we're not doing that anymore. We're going to go with the Mimic. And it's like people that are making theories are trying to grab at straws right now, where it's just like, oh, yes, this right here says the Mimic was, existent here, over here works. I think the notes that people like Fajan are using were supposed to be used to make the fact that like Gregory was supposed to be Gregory or Cassie are supposed to be this other child that's made from the spirit of one of the old kids or one of the original deaths, and it makes more sense doing that. That is what we expect. Now you're throwing me over a shark. You're not making me jump a shark. You're throwing me over a shark, and that shark is eventually going to catch up to me. Yes, his name is Felix the Shark. It's irritating to be a theorist with this era of Five Nights at Freddy's, because it's just like, so we do see how the mimic and why the mimic. The question is, how the fuck the mimic? Because it just doesn't make sense. Just, you're supposed to expect me to put this creature and this being that I've known for so long from the beginning. Well, the second game. And there's, like, I had an idea from the first game, but we just built up all of this, and then now you're making me think, yes, you're subverting expectations, but you're confusing the fans. Anyways, so yeah, I just think the mimic is supposed to be a second thought. They're just like, we're not going with this anymore. We're going to start with this. And while that's okay, just, you need to, like, go back and update some of the old games like Security Breach to make it understandable that that was the original thought. Or, make Scott go on Reddit and says, yes, we're retconning the Return of Afton. Because if you guys don't remember, at the end of the Fazbear Frights books, which was what everyone was thinking was going to be the end and the build-up for the next part in the series, Afton, a dying corpse, decided to, like, put himself in a bunch of objects from Fazbear Entertainment. Eventually, this basically entered in the books. The Stitch Wraith is two spirits that he killed, and they go around hunting all these objects that got all these souls in them, and they go to burn it. But Afton exists, and he basically makes himself a giant metal rabbit. And yes, that's what we were originally thinking, because I think Jocko's original reaction to Security Breach explains what people were expecting. People were expecting him to have all these little bits and pieces and return back as this big bad boss, and that's what that, like, claw that like came out of an opening and scratched off the surface. That's what Jocko originally thought it was, which was like the Afton bot that came back in the end of Stitch Wraith. But then we got this Grandpa Afton looking thing, just, oh hey baby. No, it's confusing for you to do this Stitch Wraith story. You look like you're building up to do it, but then you're saying, nah. Just as a fan, I'll let you have it, but it's not the truth anymore. And when it comes to the Mimic, it is a good story. I will not lie. It is doing so decent. It is making more sense because if you remember the Silver Eyes, Henry does make a robot that he's made multiple robots at that point. He makes Charlie a whole life cycle. He starts putting like hatred into the adult looking one, and that's kind of why it has its own personality. He makes the stabbing endoskeleton to end his life, which looks very similar and has very similar motives to the Mimic in the books, like, except for a few keynotes. And then we have the Mimic in the books, which is just seriously just, hey, this guy's trying to do a job for Fazbear Entertainment, where it's supposed to be an AI that's able to adapt from data, seeing people do stuff. Or, here's what behavior I'm supposed to pick up on. It is literally a child learning off of others. So it lets it hang out with his son gets replicated, his son dies, so now he just has a replicated version of his son in a robot. He starts showing hatred for that thing, just like Henry did with the adult Charlie Bot. That ends up becoming hostile towards anybody that shows like weaponry or anything, which we see like the tearing apart of employees in the Tales of the Pizzaplex books, and then he eventually becomes like this masked person that, like, we've seen him in a jester costume, we've seen him in a tiger outfit, which is just, a very similar look to the plushie that that the son had, but it's just, it makes sense. I'm not hating on Mimic, it's just the William story should have been finished and then introducing the Mimic. It's just like, yes, we were able to finally beat Mimic, put him down, release all the spirits that he did. And then there's the Mimic, who's over here it's a self-taught hatred, where William is the worst of human beings, where this is a robot learning from the worst behaviors of human beings. So it shows kind of some parts of humanity into other identities, and it's also showing, yes, this thing that's been a part of the series is now taking a larger role by just being robotics and technology. But anyways, I think that's kind of all I'm gonna say. So it's been a horrible story. It's just, I wish they would go back, reintroduce the idea of William being returned, but make it to where it's a better ending than Burn Trap was. But at least get it put to rest before we continue with this whole AI has been in the background forever since FNAF 2. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.